Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the number one podcast in the world. We have a very special guest, our guy, Zach White, giving us all the insight on what's happening in investing in early stage, late stage, public markets. We had a really interesting conversation. We're talking about inflation, the economy, and we're talking about one of the best investors of our time. She made a trip over to Taiwan and talking about all the impact of that and American perseverance. We wanted something, we got it, and boom, it was handled. Let's get into the episode.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Welcome back to Group Chat. We got our special guest, several time returning guest, Zach White.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Zach has been on over the years, and he has had a lot of insight in investing. He's an active investor in LA, and I think the most interesting thing is that you meet with a lot of people,
Tech investing,
specifically tech investing, and you meet with LPs, you meet with companies, you meet with founders, and I think you probably have a really good perspective on what's going on. Obviously, I have it from a founder's perspective, and I see really only that angle. I don't really know what people are up to these days in terms of investing, but I was looking at Axios on Monday, and there was only 3 venture deals.
Yeah. I mean, things have slowed down to a really crazy pace. I think at this point last year, Tiger had done something like 40 deals. At this point, it's like maybe 10% of that, 20% of that.
Wow.
Yeah, this time last year, I think Tiger already invested $6.5 billion in the first 6 months.
Well, they were doing a deal every 1.3 days back in April of 2021. So
just, in layman's terms, do these people still have money?
I think that they do have money, but they're being a lot more cautious of the way that they allocate it. And what I mean by that is, I think back a year or two ago, the generally pervasive thought process was, we're going to index the market with basically we're going to raise as much capital as possible to get the best possible index of the market.
What does that mean?
Index of the market means that we're going to basically fund any idea that seems like it could rationally have some sort of outsized return, regardless. And because I think that the environment that we were in before was there was more money than good ideas. And so eventually you had to sort of begin to fund average ideas and subpar ideas because there's so competitive, so much money. Now what you're seeing is there's still that same level of competition, but into really, really high quality deals that make money, founders that have been through this kind of downturn before. I think that there's a high level of competition for that kind of thing, and everything else. I mean, if you're like a first-time founder with not much track record, it's basically impossible right now unless you have a good track into one of these funds.
Because if you think about it, if you had indexed late-stage growth 7 years ago, you would have made a fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tiger and these guys, D1, they just came too late because the valuations were already massively inflated.
You don't think they made any money?
Tiger will not return that $6.5 billion fund.
But they have made, and
they raised another 12 on top of it.
But that 12 they can make money on.
Yeah, that 12 they can.
And the other part about it is that we've talked about this before, but if you start to do the management fee math, like you don't feel bad for anybody.
No.
Yeah, so explain that to people that don't know.
So, okay, for instance, let's take a random fund like Andreessen Horowitz, just pulling that out of the air.
Very random.
Yeah, very random. They, on average, so I think that their last funds, or the totality of their funds, last time I checked, was about $32 billion.
Okay.
So what that means is they've raised $32 billion in separate funds.
For sure. And so off the back of that, we kind of like assume that most funds, especially at that size, would probably get away with about 1% management fee.
Okay.
So if you think about that from a mathematical perspective, 32 billion, 1%, it's about $320 million a year in management fees. There's about 20 partners at Andreessen Horowitz making a mil base, a mil bonus. So call that whatever, 40 mil, maybe another 30 mil of real estate obligations, and then call it another 30 mil on random miscellaneous lawyers, parties, etc. It's $320 million management fees and $100 million operating costs. So
And what happens to the other 220 mil?
You know what the A and the Z are?
Yeah.
Because it fits
It just
between
goes
the
to
A and the Z.
and all those letters in between.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you know, it's really tough to feel bad for these guys because somebody like Tiger has even more than.
I don't think anyone feels bad, do they?
I think that people, I think people do feel bad. I think that people do feel bad because they think that this is like these were kind of like the cornerstones of our industry, and then if they go away, then our industry tends to look very differently, and so.
But I don't think they're going away. I think it's just like anything. There's good times and there's tough times.
It depends who you're talking about. The people that the crossover funds are the ones that may disappear from the ecosystem because you lose that much money.
Yeah.
You're not going to reinvest it in late stage growth.
I don't know. SoftBank, you know, sometimes they're winning, sometimes they're losing, but they're always around.
When's the last big SoftBank deal you heard of, though?
Investing wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
They've all cut back, every single one of them. And they don't know if these strategies are tenable in the future at that size because they've scaled up so high. If you scale up to $100 billion fund, where do you even go from there?
So do you think they just return the money?
I don't think no. That's in nobody's best interest.
So the management fee. If you return the money.
No, but I'm saying like, okay, you have $100 billion fund. Where that's public markets then.
You've seen a lot of these funds become RIAs so that they can take advantage of public market mispricing. Like Andreessen, all these guys are buying stocks in the public market right now because in some instances they're getting them at lower valuations than they were in their growth round. So
yeah, for sure.
Kind of next order effect, if the crossover funds leave late stage growth, at least temporarily, right? They're all going to come back. The party's going to get going at some point, but temporarily.
It's cycle. Everything cycles.
Temporarily, they've stepped away. Does that mean companies are going to be forced to go public earlier, get acquired before? Because if that capital, that was the bridge before you go public.
For sure.
And that's what Tiger and D1 and all these guys did. And if what does a growth stage company, if you're entering growth now, like the strategy has to be very different than it was 18 months ago.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that like, it's a good thing to remember that staying private for this long is a relatively new phenomenon. And a lot of the cornerstone businesses that we think about from the technological ecosystem were built in public markets, you know, Amazon, Apple, all of these companies. Yeah. All of these companies
Microsoft,
IPO'd very, very early and then were forced to kind of go through the growth aspect of their business with the scrutiny of public markets, which I think is actually probably a healthier way to do it because there's a lot of like...
You're held accountable.
Yeah, there's a much higher level of accountability and there's like a much higher level of transparency, which I think in the growth stage, you can easily cover up a lot of bullshit by just raising more money. And so, you know, I think that hopefully what we see... if people are on Twitter, which I assume they are, they should go check out Keith Rabois just posted a pretty cool like little infographic on like why building in the public markets might be better. And, you know, I think that that's becoming a more pervasive mental framework for a lot of really big investors to look at.
I also think, you know, if you look at, I saw that infographic, all the wealth got created in the public markets for the best companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it feels like if you can operate open kimono, the upside's there too.
For sure. And you have access to increased liquidity. Like you don't have to go through the whole process of selling secondaries, trying to find buyers, et cetera.
Yeah.
You have a completely liquid market to express the way that you feel about specific companies in kind of like a much shorter feedback loop. So
but it is painful. Like I saw the memo Jeff Bezos wrote, I think in 2000 when his stock was down 80% and they were ripping.
Yeah.
The business was absolutely ripping because if that was in the private market, he wouldn't have had that pain.
For sure. Yeah.
But it probably made the company substantially stronger because of it.
Yeah. And it probably made him a better leader too at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Uber didn't know their unit economics on a per ride basis and they were a $60 billion company.
Yeah.
Like think about that.
Yeah.
If you're public, that gets figured out very quickly.
For sure.
Yeah, I think...
and if you think about... Sorry, just to get back to like the growth stage, like if you're a fund... You can go in the public markets, pick any growth company from SaaS, e-commerce, whatever. They're all down 70, 80%.
Yeah.
So what's your upside in playing in the growth private markets when you can get companies that are already public and you're liquid?
So what are some of your favorite publicly traded companies, Zach?
I don't know if I'm registered to give advice.
You
but
could just say this is not
This
financial
is not financial
advice.
advice. That's all you have to say, and
yeah,
then you
that's-
can give your
yeah,
advice.
yeah.
Jim Cramer, he just says that and you can good. He's giving losers all day.
This is not financial advice, but I mean, like, I think that very traditionally, like, a lot of the FANG stuff has been absolutely destroyed. And I think that a lot of things in there are probably still very tenable businesses moving forward. I think that you've seen
Like Meta?
Yeah, I actually think that Meta has a better chance of doing well than they have of doing poorly. And so, yeah, I think I think any of the big businesses that you've seen, like, I think
So Google, Amazon,
Google,
Facebook.
Amazon, Facebook, all of those businesses are not going anywhere. And in fact, I think that this is actually a time for them to cut a lot of the fat. Like, what is interesting to me about a lot of this stuff is there are a lot of businesses that have clearly become bloated because of all of this excess
Even
money.
Google, we talked about it last episode, 174,000 employees.
Yeah. And
What are they
every single one of them have the most insane benefits. Every single one of them has crazy healthcare. And like in COVID, I know that they were sending every single employee their own at-home COVID testers, not like little strips, but like the machines that you could do blood tests on COVID with.
That's $1 billion.
Yeah, but it doesn't even matter. So
Yeah.
I think that what we're going to see is like this constriction of just like this bloated spending. And then from there, a lot of these businesses will start to actually look a lot more healthier. EPS will go up, all that stuff. So
Got it. So you don't want to name any companies.
I'm not going to go into specifics.
That's what we do. That's the whole point
We
of the
need names.
podcast.
We need names.
You say things with authority.
Okay,
and
what's a
then
shitty
forget
company?
about it.
Oh, what's a shitty company? That's a good one.
Publicly traded shitty company.
Besides Peloton.
What's a shitty? Oh yeah, Peloton's a good one.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't even think of one. I mean, like, I think that's there are really shitty sectors that I wouldn't touch, like hardware. I wouldn't touch anything in hardware right now that's publicly traded. I wouldn't touch anything that's like, I don't know, like the Michael Saylors of the world. I wouldn't fucking touch anything that has anything to do with crypto right this second. That's also like represented in public markets. Like, I don't know. I think that I'm like, I've seen myself reverting back to more traditional businesses that I understand, like enterprise SaaS and I think that and like cybersecurity and those kinds of things have a very long runway. But I think that there was a lot of flash in the pan stuff, like Pelotons, for instance, that, you know, went straight up, straight down. Or like, you know, WeWork's a publicly traded company. Fucking Soho House is a publicly traded company. Like all of these things, I don't necessarily know if that needs to be the case. And I can't really see a world in which the growth rates for those kinds of businesses outpaces sort of like the economy in general. So yeah, I don't know. I think that it is an interesting time to like really dive into a lot of the names that you might have wanted to invest into in private markets that are now publicly traded and a lot lower than they were. And yeah, there's going to be some clear winners, but it's tough for me to say who those are right now.
Yeah, like even a company like Zoom, which obviously got the boost during the pandemic because you were forced to, that's going to be around forever.
For sure.
That technology, I mean, we use it every day, everyone in business, and I use it for school stuff for my kids.
Totally.
Like we talk to like instructors on Zoom, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that there are like some pervasive shifts that'll remain, but for the most part, I think that what you'll see is like the bounce back will come to these like more classically understood businesses a lot quicker than it will like the random stuff that's got SPAC'd out or whatever in the last couple of years.
So one of those companies is Uber. Uber reported earnings today. And revenue grew 100% to 8 billion for the 3 months through June. They had the big announcement is that they had generated $382 million of free cash, but they still lost $2.6 billion. And Dara, the CEO, was on CNBC. I was actually on the treadmill when he came on, and he was talking about that 70% of the drivers came back on the platform because of inflation, because costs have gotten higher in their own personal life, and they're offsetting it by driving, saying that there's actually a great supply for drivers. They're seeing through the roof demand because services are kind of back. And he was very optimistic about the future of the business. I'm kind of shocked, to be honest, because
What part are you shocked about?
About the future.
Well, he's a CEO. He can't say, it's looking real grim.
I know, sure, but I do believe like because he's saying inflation is not having an impact on their business, but like gas prices clearly have an impact
For
on
sure.
their drivers' pockets.
And you know what's like a secondary effect that I don't think that he probably is considering, but is probably not talking about, is the inflation on used car pricing.
Yeah.
Like there was a ton of people who were priced out of the used car market in the last couple of years. And what is your other option is to probably take services like Uber, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I think that once you start to see the reversion to the mean on used car prices and some of the more transport related stuff, I think you see that number probably go down in a fair amount.
So we're in the middle of earnings season. So, I mean, what has been kind of transparent or obvious, is amongst these growth names and even bigger names, as long as you don't say you're falling off a cliff like a Snapchat, everyone's stock is up because all the stocks are down so big that they're like, okay, let's just make sure the business is going to be around for the next 5 years.
Totally.
And the stocks are all running 15, 20% post earnings.
Yeah.
And
Except Airbnb.
but Airbnb was up this morning. So
It's shit in the bed right now.
what's it down?
Down
after hours?
$9.
But that's a company. What's their 6 month? Did it get crushed in the last 6 months?
Let's see.
It's for what I'm talking about is the companies in the last 6 months down 70%.
Yeah.
As long as you're like, hey, we're a viable business still, you get rewarded.
For sure. I
They
mean,
got
I think
crushed the last 6
the downside is much lower. There's much less downside than there is upside because all you need to do is beat in some sort of way. And like everybody has such doom and gloom about them that if you like are doing anything of note, I think you get very quickly rewarded. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. And
Because people all cycled risk off and now they're trying to cycle back risk on. And it's like, who do we choose? It's like the people who have good news seem to be a good start.
Yep.
And I'm shocked. If I look at Airbnb's numbers, they posted 2.1 billion of revenue, but they also reported a profit of $379 million and topped analyst projections. And it sounds like the bookings, the future bookings are strong. I'm shocked the stock is down, but
would you be able to really, if you were the CEO of Airbnb, guide higher? Like, would you be able to say there are going to be more people that are going to be working remotely, working from Texas when they actually work in San Francisco? That, all of that stuff's going away.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're actually seeing quite a lot of, at least from where I sit in venture capital, is venture capitalists are very aggressively telling people to get the fuck back in the office. Like they're saying,
the VC fund itself or their portfolio companies.
But one leads to the other. I think the VC funds are putting pressure on. Sam Altman did a great Twitter poll the other day, and it was, if you were starting a business right now, which would you be most scared of? Would it be a company, or which would you be most scared of to be your competitor? Would it be a company that's fully remote? Would it be a company that's hybridized? Or would it be a company that's fully in person? And by far, it was like 70% was a company that is fully in person.
Yeah.
And I think that people convince themselves just because of the circumstance that it's okay to build wherever the fuck. But all of the best businesses, at least in like the storied history of Silicon Valley, were all built together and like in small rooms with like 5 engineers hacking together over like some dominoes, And so I personally just anecdotally miss that version of Silicon Valley a lot. I think that it was a really great time to be building, and I think I still maintain that the best things are built together.
100%. It's interesting because we're hiring for the new business and most people are applying not in LA.
Of course, yeah.
And just assume that we are okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. I put out a tweet yesterday saying, I just don't feel comfortable being remote for like probably 75% of the positions.
Mm-hmm.
Engineering is the one piece where there are clear deliverables and KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to know if they're delivering
for sure
on a day. If they're shipping product daily, then you can at least know that they're making progress. And even then, I still believe there's a lot to be gained by doing it in person.
I think engineering specifically, there's a lot of serendipity that I've seen just from having a bunch of engineers like all on the same desk, where it's like problems that would have taken much longer in isolation, are fixed very quickly because you have kind of like this groupthink that are attacking problems all together. So
I think that was what Zuck was famous for, right? Those hackathons where they'd sit around and just...
Hackathons were the best shit ever. I wish I haven't heard about a hackathon in forever.
Didn't Zuck do one a week ago? It was obviously remote, but
I wasn't.
He challenged
furious.
He challenged his team 24 hours. Everyone
they were like,
like 5
why
minutes.
don't we just copy TikTok?
Yeah. But that is like the hackathon era was a great era of venture capital. Like I love because the stuff that would actually come out of those are like cornerstones of some of the products that you use every single day. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the Facebook shit was built in those hackathons. A lot of the Uber stuff was built
Yeah.
in those hackathons. Like
Yeah.
to me, I think those like that kind of ethos of just like, we're just going to grind it out together. I mean, you know, it's applicable across more things than just technology, in my opinion. So
Yeah. And I think if you look at the service industry, particularly with all of the earnings coming out, you're right. I don't think Airbnb can go out on a limb and say, we believe travel is going to expand next year.
it's impossible. Or not even travel, but just like remoteness.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
being away from your actual house.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the quarter before, I remember they were bragging about how extended stays was like the highest they've
For sure.
ever seen.
Yeah.
That's got to decrease.
100, and like they're the highest growth markets were like these markets where people were like, oh, I'm
Idaho.
just going to sit in nature but still work. Like I'm going to go to Aspen or
Yeah.
whatever, like fucking Jackson Hole. Like those were the fastest growing markets.
Yeah.
And it's like it really, I would find it very difficult to believe that those would be going up in the near future. So
The other thing you're also seeing is that like if for people back in the office, that the places like Texas have more people back in the office than places like LA or New York.
for sure.
And I think that is coming down to commute times
Mhm.
is where people are fighting.
Mhm.
Specifically in Southern California, I
Mhm.
think that's like the big fight.
For sure.
I'm sure San Francisco has bad traffic too,
Yeah.
to and from the city.
But
I don't know how you solve for that if,
Yeah.
if there's a cohort of workers that are saying, I don't want to commute anymore.
For sure. Well, I think that that's part of it, but I think for me, what I see is to be the more pertinent issue here is that like the incompetence of maybe local politics. So like I think that in places like Texas, it's been a long established point of view in Texas that like you should just be doing whatever the fuck you were doing before.
Yeah.
Like you just go back to whatever you're doing. Out here, there's so much like back and forth on
Yeah.
like, oh, we're here or we're there or there.
Yeah.
Like I think that level of incompetence contributes slightly to like this this thought process amongst people in those kinds of places where it's like, well, if the government's telling us we shouldn't be going back, why the fuck am I going back? Like commute times are not like these guys are saying not to go back, so we might as well just not go back.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think a lot of it is down to like, because, you know, the places where people are working in person the most right now are Austin, Texas, Miami,
Yeah.
New York to a certain extent, especially post Eric Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because the office hubs, like in Century City, they're still empty.
Still dead. And that's because Newsom is like, oh, well, now we got to worry about monkeypox, or whatever the fuck it is. Like,
Yeah.
whatever the flavor of the month is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're not shutting down schools for like herpes, so I don't know why it's such a
yeah,
thing.
we're not shutting down schools. I went on a big rant over obesity, which we should.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I actually did get a note from a listener whose son is a 7-year-old and they have a 90-mile challenge at their elementary school for the month.
It's great.
That's like real miles. Like you will
Yeah.
get in shape running 90
So
miles.
one person in India died of monkeypox, but it's rarely fatal. Is what
I know. So like, do you know how much money we're allocating?
Yeah. And do you know how much they're threatening to shut shit down again
Yeah.
for monkeypox? I don't know why you're like, why would we shut down schools if there's not people having sex?
We
in
should
schools?
shut down for cigarettes too.
Yeah, we should just shut
Shut
down.
down.
The
Give
government
up.
should just give us money and let us fucking hang out, honestly.
I mean, if he wants to run for president, that's his best shot, right? This guy will shut everything down
And
you
give
don't
you
have
all
to go
the
to
money,
work.
yeah.
You sit at home and
Yep.
he gives you money.
We print more money and you just chill.
Robinhood just came out with their earnings. I think that before we even get to the earnings, they're cutting 23% of their staff.
smart.
This is exactly what I said. Of those 23%, how many of those people were making a meaningful impact at Robinhood? Or how many of them were like, you know, the chief vibe officer that got hired in 2020 and
And they had already laid off 9% of its full-time employees in April.
yeah, so a third of their company has effectively been gone in the last 3 months.
Didn't
Yeah.
I say when they laid off 9% that was so light that they needed to go
Yeah.
way higher?
Totally.
And then the other thing you're also seeing is that because the thing that I was reading that a lot of people feel that there's a lot of cost cutting to do at companies before they cut staff. The
Which-
biggest companies.
Sure, which is fair.
So, but do we ever see a Google layoff?
No, what you see is a slowdown of hiring, which has already happened. And I think that you would probably not see layoffs in the sense that Google will never lay off 20% of their staff at one time.
Yeah.
But I think what you do see is like specific teams start getting cut down.
Yeah, and I bet you performance is tracked way more strictly.
Way higher. And like when on average, like the bottom 10% of people get fired at a company every year,
Yep.
maybe that bumps up to 15, maybe that bumps up to 20, who knows?
PayPal must have reported a beat because their stock's up 12% in after hours.
Wow. They would see the consumer spending quicker than anyone, right? Like, I
Sure.
would assume they have the best data. They're like a Visa.
Mhm.
And what you're seeing from American Express and Visa is that the consumer's still spending.
For sure. But they're doing it on credit as
Credit.
opposed to,
Yeah, which I guess people aren't predicting that's going to have an impact because, by the way, interest rates are through the
Yeah,
roof.
exactly. I don't think people understand how credit necessarily works, but they should be watching the interest rates.
Robinhood missed on everything.
Users.
The biggest, I
The
think,
least
scariest,
surprising news of the week.
yeah, the most surprising thing is they were estimating 15.5 million active users. They came in at 14 million.
Yeah. And that number will go down next quarter too.
Because young people are not getting back into investing till we start ripping again. Or actually, they probably don't have money.
Yeah, where's the liquid capital coming from? Everybody's
Yeah.
losing their jobs. Everybody and everybody's gotten fucking hosed in public markets, crypto markets. Like,
Yeah, and then inflation on top of that.
And like, there's not very many, like, you know, the old fucking Warren Buffett adage, invest when others are fearful. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's not like widely known knowledge amongst this group of investors. So they're just looking at their portfolios burning and like, God, I hope it comes back. Not
Yeah.
like cost basing down, like whatever.
Yeah,
So
the Robinhood customer left the party.
Yeah, 1.5 million people just left the quarter.
Well, all smart money's coming in.
yeah, well, literally people are doubling down. Like all the funds are investing heavily in the public market. That's what I'm saying. It's like the thing about Robinhood that always confused me is that it's incredible how bad the average retail investor actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And so to build your business off the back of people who are more than likely not going to fail is really interesting. And like in hard times, it exacerbates the fall, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, I mean, man, Buffett and Munger in their 90s, Munger was screaming from the mountaintop that Robinhood was a giant casino.
And,
he
yeah, and
was
that
right.
crypto was all trash.
Yeah, that's right. it's unbelievable, like how like it was funny. I was listening. I was meeting with someone. This is months ago, and they were talking to me. This is last year. He was reading a book about like inflation in the 70s, and I was like, "Who gives a fuck?"
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know, I'm trying to understand how to anticipate these inflationary environments and what are some of the things I should keep in mind for my business.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I sometimes get detached from the fact that everything repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
And we always think we're in a different environment or a
No,
different
isn't the
scenario.
saying history doesn't always repeat itself, but it rhymes? Isn't that a saying?
Seems like a good one. If
It's
it's
a good
not,
one.
you should trademark that ASAP.
It just sounds like you made that up.
No, if I did, I'm a genius.
But like I remember when he was reading this book, and I was just like, '70s inflation.
Oh, yeah, it's a
like,
saying.
God, just a
Damn it.
dry read.
I mean, I just
Yeah, it's Mark Twain.
I just read the well, I mean, like I agree that it's a dry read, but it is very indicative of like what might happen. And I recently read the Volcker biography. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're familiar with it. It was great.
Yeah.
It was honestly great, and it's
And
like
he was the Federal Reserve Chairman.
in the 70s. I
70s,
think.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
the one who raised interest rates.
He
to
raised
20%.
interest rates insane amounts to break the back of inflation and like basically put us into a very, very steep and dark recession. But he was able to break the back of inflation. And I think that, yeah, like those are indicative of probably what's about to happen. You know, like there's very few instances in which I can see the economy would benefit from a lowering of interest rates in the near future at any point. So, you know, it's probably going to go up. We're already in a recession technically. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's just good
Depends
to...
who you ask.
Well, yeah. I ask people who have a good sense of economics, but not the government.
One metric that we've been looking at is the number of job openings. So in May, there was 11.3 million. In June, there's 10.7 million.
Mhm.
Still insane number,
Mhm.
but net jobs being removed, 600,000 openings
Mhm.
removed. I know a lot of people have left the workforce
Mhm.
and doesn't seem like they're ever coming back.
Which is amazing. I would love to know.
How
Again,
do you do that?
they figured it out. They got the Newsom hack already.
Yeah,
Print money and just
what's
chill.
funny is like I'll be looking at people's Instagrams where I know I make more money than them. We have not taken a vacation. We haven't
been
done
a second
anything.
for me, yeah.
I'm like looking at menu prices and I see them like out in Tahoe ski. You know,
it's
like,
crazy.
How is this happening?
I'm looking at Europe right now just with a huge question mark, like all across the board.
Someone's financing those trips. That's a different market.
Depends.
For sure. But I wonder. So that's the June data. Is 600,000 job openings have been removed. What does July look like? July's got to be way worse.
That is going to be worse, and it's kind of ties into what we've been talking about. Is like these companies are slowing hiring. Those job openings were for a bunch of like frivolous, probably jobs that like didn't really necessarily affect the underlying sort of business prospects. And so, I think that you're going to start to see like there's going to be a lot of like random superfluous technology jobs that just disappear off the face of the earth.
What I don't understand is you ask any restaurant in LA, they still can't hire for the hourly jobs. Where are those people? How are they surviving if they're not showing up to the hourly jobs that they used to get?
Because there's so many side hustles that you can earn like $200 a day that it's like, would you rather go in and earn whatever? Well,
what's a side hustle? $200 is a lot of money.
Selling sneakers, like affiliate links, fucking, like there's infinite ways to make money on the internet.
You piece together like
you get like $17 here and $45 here.
Yeah, you're like a virtual assistant, I guess.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of different things like this, and so
15 here, 45.
That's true though. So I think that what you're starting to see is like people piecing together, like I know drug dealing's back in fucking huge fashion. Like there's
all drugs or any particular category?
Weed seems to be going crazy right now.
I think we said this, selling weed is probably one of the safer businesses.
It's like selling water. It's like
the reason being is you can't get in trouble.
For sure. Oh, I know. I have friends who used to be so scared of just like anything, and now they're just free balling it out in the world. Just,
and by the way, you can
if you go to a licensed dispensary, it's unaffordable.
60% of it is Texas.
Right.
Yeah. So it just doesn't even make sense. So,
and you can't, if you get pulled over with weed, no one's going to do anything.
It's worth more. It's like a bigger headache for them to do the paperwork than to actually do anything to you. So
because they know nothing's going to happen.
But this is what I'm saying. There's like a lot of these kinds of like
everyone's selling drugs.
People are selling
affiliate links, $14. I don't know about that, but like
no, dude. I've like I don't know. I'm sure the viewers of this podcast are well aware, but there's a guy on the internet who's been very, very popular over the last let's call it 2 months, more search than Joe Biden, Kim Kardashian, Donald Trump, higher search rate on Google than all these people. And the way that he did it was he accomplished it by basically, he had a huge latent amount of content and was basically like, went to all of the people on the internet and said, hey, here's all my content, cut it up however you want it, post it to your socials. And because a lot of it is like very divisive.
Is this Andrew Tate?
Yes, it is. And because everything is so divisive, like you're obviously going to get a lot of engagement. And if you put affiliate links on top of all this content to like lead me back to this program that I'm running, we'll just split and right now he has, I think 110,000 people in this program paying $50 a month, which is what, $75 million a year. So it's like all of that money.
So he's a genius.
I guess. But like, he says a lot of things that are disagreeable to say the least.
Is he a political figure? I have no idea.
He's not a political figure. He's kind of like this guy who really speaks to like the incel crowd of like males. Where he's like, oh, you got to be grinding harder, you got to be lifting more weights, become a high value man type shit, which is, that's like whatever. I don't really give a fuck about that. But I do think it's very interesting, like how, like utilizing latent content and like building a dedicated fan base.
That's genius.
It is really genius. And so like, that's what I'm saying. Like there's people in his affiliate program that are earning, $40,000 a month, $50,000 a month.
Yeah, he's the machismo guy.
Oh yeah, he's the most extreme version of that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just did a quick Siri search. This is the description of Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is a Romanian-based American-British kickboxer and online personality. Following his kickboxing career, Tate has gained notoriety for his controversial statements regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment. So you can imagine the content.
Oh my God. I see everyone talking about him all the time. I have no idea. And I the only context I had was he convinced everyone to link back to him.
Correct. Yeah. And but people are earning real money, which is why they're doing it. And so I'm saying this is a very long and roundabout way to get back to the point that there's a lot of random hustles on the internet. Like if you're earning $200 a day, let's say, just doing affiliate links, why the fuck would you go in and serve people coffee. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really make sense. So that's where I think is really happening is like,
So, and to be fair, so my two examples recently where significant less staff is I was in Philadelphia, went to some popular Mexican restaurant. They were doing the QR code situation, and the only time you interacted with a human being is when they delivered your food.
Yeah.
So you've eliminated the waiters. My mom goes to like a local Indian fast casual place and said they got rid of all the busboys and a robot delivers all the food now.
yeah, exactly.
Just to your table. They programmed it. Every table is numbered. The robot comes. It says your shit's labeled. You pull it out and that's it.
Yeah.
Which restaurant?
Tulsi.
Oh, wow. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I go to like a very specific doctor out here and like
The robot comes.
not even a robot comes, but there's like literally like, you know, in the typical doctor's office, you walk in, there's a waiting room, there's a bunch of people behind the desk checking you in, etc. All gone.
Yeah.
It's literally, I just walk in, my nurse says, hey, great to see you. Like, I know everything that's going on with you right now.
Yeah.
Let's get your shit started. Like, that's basically it. So I think that there's probably in most businesses like that, there's probably like a good 10 to 20, 30% of fat you could just cut. And it doesn't really make that much of an impact to the end user experience. And you're probably going to start to see the most discerning businesses become more aware of that and adjust themselves accordingly.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
The one I can't get on board with is the robots delivering your Postmates.
Oh, I
Those
fuck
are
with them all the time on the
Right?
street. I'll just stand in front of them, just see what the move is.
I saw
People are trashing birds and limes. What are they doing to the Postmates robot?
urinating.
Dude, Bird, like that's okay. We're talking about a company that's not going to fucking come back that's in public market. Bird,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
never.
toast.
Scooters are done. Scooters as a a paradigm of like micro transport is
I think
Cooked.
scooters should be a city thing like
the bus.
the metro rail.
for sure. It should be subsidized.
Subsidized.
And just
It's so expensive. I took one the other
Oh, it's
day
like
because I couldn't get
$5
Uber.
to go,
it was
like-
like $12
No.
to go down the street.
it was same thing. I took a half a mile Bird the other day, and it was $12. And I checked the same exact thing on Uber, and it was $9. It's like it doesn't even make. And I had fucking music, air conditioning, like. So yeah, it doesn't even make
And
sense.
I think because the city clearly doesn't have proper streets anymore, it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
I took one the other day. I was
bro.
like, I'm done.
Also,
Like,
I don't
I'm
know
not
if you've
gonna-
noticed this, but like nobody's getting pulled over for shit anymore out here because the cops are just like, why the fuck would we do that? We're not getting paid or supported enough for this.
Yeah.
So like the driving out in Los Angeles right now is absolutely absurd. There's people doing sideshows in the streets, like doing the fucking, like the donuts in the middle of the intersections. It's crazy.
So it's like Oakland.
yeah, it's like Oakland.
Yeah, I know at night, drunk driving's back.
Everything's back. Everything's back. Dude, like people shooting each other out of cars is back. Like it's fucking wild out here.
Yeah,
Like,
you thought drive-bys would go away.
no, double down. We're
Yeah.
doubling down in 2022. Drive-bys up.
It's pretty wild. Like history always repeats itself.
Yeah, exactly.
You thought drive-bys were gone. They're back.
Often rhymes.
Yeah, the rhyming.
That Mark Twain, huh?
Yeah,
Smart
exactly.
dude.
The other thing that we're seeing is that the rich seem to be doing great. We
Classic.
briefly talked about LVMH across all business units was double-digit growth.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
I think
incredible.
apparel was like 30% growth,
fucking
which is
incredible.
insane. The
Mhm.
bases, I think, was like 15 billion.
Yeah.
I think it went to 18 billion for the
Yeah.
quarter. Ferrari just reported record second quarter,
Mhm.
boosting guidance for a year ahead.
Mhm.
Granted, to me, Ferrari, the number of cars is so limited.
For sure.
There's always going to be
Well,
like,
there's a secondary market, and the reason that Ferrari can kind of do this is because they basically sell out of all of their cars every year because people know
yeah,
that like it's like the same thing with watches, right?
Yeah.
You have to spend a certain amount of Ferrari to get the nice Ferraris,
Yeah.
and then as soon as you buy those Ferraris, they're instantly worth X, some multiple more. And so there is like a very clear supply demand issue with
Yeah.
Ferrari, which means that they'll probably, as so long as that they can manage their supply
yeah.
moving forward in like a kind of small, like a reasonable growth way, they're going to be able to continue doing this. Because
Yeah, I thought we had lunch last week, Zach, and explain the watch hustle that the dealers do, because I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you want to go in and buy any type of sport model, Rolex, Audemars, any of these kinds of Pateks, it's basically physically impossible to do it in a boutique.
Yep.
What you have to do, the new game is that you go into a boutique right now, and let's say it's a Rolex boutique. They'll not force you, but they'll say, oh, you would like a Submariner at retail price. you have to come in and buy 50 grand of these other slow moving Rolexes. And then we'll give you the Rolex because they know as soon as you take a Submariner out of a Rolex boutique, it goes from 8K to 14K.
Yeah.
And if you do, so like that's literally pure arbitrage.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, that's at Tiffany.
yeah, it's everything.
Every one of these stores.
But like now, so many people are clued into that the spends are so fucking high. It's like you have to spend 150 grand to get an 8 grand watch at retail. It's like,
yeah, and I think Ferrari earnings are not even indicative of anything except
no,
it's La La Land.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a small segment of the population that it's like, yeah.
Our guy Ollie from Car Trackers was on last week, and he was saying that any car over 6,000 pounds is 100% write off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that he was like, all the
G-Wagons, all the Range Rovers, they're
all
write-offs.
those big Cullinan and whatever.
They're all write-offs. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so good.
Hold on.
Here's the big news. Anand's favorite drink is now one of the hottest investments of the year.
So this was my greatest call in the history of investing that I've never made $1 on.
Celsius.
It was a single-digit stock, and I just discovered it at a gas station.
This is a prime example of going public early, and all the value was created post IPO.
I remember I walked to the gas station, and I saw this drink, and I just looked at it. It said sparkling, so that got my eye. And then I looked, it was like 10 calories. And I tasted it. This is years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's at least 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, this shit is amazing. And then I start Googling it. And I'm like, what is this company?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I start asking people. No one knows what it is. I find it
What
on
was that, spring 2020?
No, 6 years ago.
Okay.
I was doing this pre-pandemic.
Okay.
And then I see it's on the pink sheets trading, like for next to nothing.
Yeah.
And it's 100x since then.
Yeah. You know what this is like literally the exact same story as? Are you
Monster.
familiar with Monster? Yeah.
It was the best performing stock of what, the last decade?
It's either Monster or Domino's Pizza, one of the two.
Yeah. And Celsius in early 2020 was trading at $3.80. It is at $104 a share
It's
now.
incredible.
I talked about Celsius so much on this pod, and I hope someone went and bought the
And
stock.
the reason, the big news is PepsiCo takes a $550 million stake, is helping them now with distribution, which means this shit's about to be everywhere, and Pepsi's going to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
like guarantee they have to buy it. It is a $7.8 billion fucking company now.
Yeah.
Market cap. That is nuts.
and it's infiltrated all of the fitness studios.
Oh
It's
my God.
It's
everywhere.
at 7-Eleven now.
It's
Yeah.
but it's also like every influencer's favorite drink. Like if they're like, if they're not on the Bang Squad, they're Celsius up.
but it's the revenue in 2021 was only $300 million.
It's incredible. Still getting 25 X's on drink brands.
But to your point, it's very well known that Monster is basically the best investment of the last decade in the most revolutionary technological
It's incredible.
time in our history. And what was it? A 50-gram can of sugar.
Yeah, 200 milligrams of caffeine and some fucking flavoring. And
Steve Jobs' favorite line where he said, do you want to sell sugar water the rest of your life? Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like a bad idea.
Or sugarless water now. Celsius is sugarless, right?
There's zero
Allegedly.
sugar.
Yeah.
Allegedly. It tastes too good to
It's
be
really
zero
good
sugar.
tasting.
I don't know if because I'll drink Diet Cokes, but like I haven't had like, Pepsi or regular Coke. And maybe I've just like lost the taste of sugar that Celsius tastes great. Like, does like a Coke drinker think Celsius tastes like shit?
No, I think Celsius is fine. I'll take a Mexican Coke every now and then.
Okay.
So I think Celsius is fine.
When I someone who doesn't drink anything sweet really, unless it's coffee, I can't drink a Coke. I took a sip of Coke the other day and I was like,
it's
whoa.
insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane.
It makes your teeth tingle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's wild.
But they did grow revenue to 217% quarter over quarter.
Celsius.
So
So the growth is there.
Oh, it's
that's
insane.
insane. 123 million just in the first quarter.
So we're back to CPG. CPG's hot.
Cycling, man.
What's also insane about Celsius's growth is you could have said this was a pandemic phenomenon, like people just sitting at home, just
crushing energy drinks. That's so genius. I would love to see that. All the remote work is just powered by Celsius.
but it's not. Is what I'm saying.
I would think that when
drink
you're on
one-
the go, you're more likely to buy an energy drink.
Those
You
things
could
are-
have no energy at home.
Those things are fucking strong too.
Yeah.
Like you drink a Celsius after already having a cup of coffee, you're zooming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We actually had Rob, our friend, on, and he has another sugarless energy concept called ReinventU. And I drank that one that day, and I got home, crushed a workout. I was like cruising
incredible.
all day. Actually, Rob's here today, so why don't we just get into it? We had him come by, and this is in the Celsius space, and we have an incredible offer for you. Tune in.
Well, if it's 100x, I want in on the investment.
Maybe we
side.
should invest in this. All right, everyone. We have our probably one of our most returning guests. We got Robert, aka Ballin, back. Ballin back. And you always come up with something interesting. You know, we did. You brought us the credit cleanup guys.
Yep.
You brought us so many interesting people over the years.
Salted meats.
Oh yeah, the meats.
Yeah,
You're a big meat guy.
Yeah, big meat guy.
You always brought our listeners big meat.
Fuck.
But yeah, I mean, you're back here. You know that we enjoy a good energy drink in this office.
Yes.
And you brought us one that has no sugars.
Like that.
It has a shitload of B12, which ironically I take in a dropper daily.
Do you?
Yeah.
What is B12 for?
Energy.
It's energy, right?
Yeah.
I like it.
It's just general health, you know? So what's going on here? This has a lot of good stuff in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually amazing. Anna and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago with a drink. I don't even know how you say it. Celsius. I think that's
Celsius,
how, I think that's how you and he was a big fan of it because of, it doesn't really give that bite and it's, a healthier thing. And that's what this is, the ReinventU. I mean, it doesn't give that bite that an energy drink tastes because everybody knows that bite. And they're like, oh, what does he mean? Well, it's that bite.
Yeah.
And, this is clean. It's a lot of my players really like that. And you just
like that
cracked one.
sound?
They like that sound.
Yeah.
And the flavors are great. I mean, they have, I think the one you're drinking right now is Japanese watermelon or Miami Vice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it tastes great and it doesn't give you a crash. Like I would take energy drinks and I'd feel fucking nervous. Like I'd be like, is somebody watching me? And then I would crash, but no, definitely not with these.
And it's not like, I don't know, Celsius also has a very like artificial taste to it. For some reason, I don't like it.
Right.
This actually is not too sweet, which is incredible.
Right.
Because it looks like it's naturally flavored, right?
Yeah, no, it is. And that's what I was saying too, is like with energy drinks, you can taste that bite or, you taste that aftertaste, but this, you can actually taste the flavor, what it is. And it's healthy. It has B12.
And ReinventU, where do they sell now?
So they're actually in a ton of 7-Elevens out through Texas. They're coming out west. But right now, that's why I came on for the Cathys to tell them you can get it online. And I brought a discount for you.
What's the discount?
So this is big. So if you go to ReinventU.com.
So, but you with the...
With the U, not Y-O-U.
Okay.
So ReinventU.com.
Yeah.
You can get 30% off anything with the code GROUPCHAT. But if you want to try the energy drinks, you get them for free. Just pay shipping.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can literally
try them for free.
It's a section on.
It's a section. It's right on the homepage. It basically says free. It'll have the sampler on there. You put in group chat, you'll get them for free. You just pay shipping.
Wow.
Yeah, and everything else too is they've decided to give the Cathys 30% off. But are you into greens? Do you take greens?
Yeah.
So, what about you, Anand?
Yeah, the athletic greens type.
Yeah, like that. So, I hate greens. Like literally, I mean, I hate greens. But these greens, I'm up to 6 scoops a day because literally it tastes like fucking sour apple.
Wow.
Like, and I would sit there and like plug my nose when I would take greens. No, not these.
Wow.
Like insane. So, I mean, if you can get greens in your body for 30% off, that's healthy. Oh, and plus free energy drinks.
Free energy drinks too.
I like that.
Yeah.
And so go to reinventu.com. You spelled with the letter U, not Y-O-U. And
Great packaging.
great packaging, revive energy, boost metabolism, got my B12.
Yeah, don't feel nervous.
Yeah, no, and the taste is actually incredible.
Yeah, and again, that's what I say is, you don't taste that bite, like an energy drink bite. And it's not just for, people that want to go on runs. I mean, this is for everyday people.
Yeah.
And like I said, is go to ReinventU.com, use the code GROUPCHAT, get 30% off all the site. I suggest you try the greens because they're amazing, the green apple, but get the energy drinks for free. Just pay for shipping.
There's a fat burner on the website too.
I need a fat burner.
Who doesn't need a fat burner?
30% off for fat burner?
Unless you're a professional athlete, you need to burn the fat.
Well, that's amazing. It's exciting business. It just launched, huh?
Yeah, they've actually been around for about 6 to 8 months, and they're really making way. I think it was because of the clean energy and, the way it tastes. Once you taste it, you just feel like, okay, this is good. I'll keep going.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Rob, for introducing that to all the Kathys.
Of course.
Use the code GROUPCHAT, ReinventU.com. Back to the episode. All right, let's get back into it. Nancy Pelosi, everyone's favorite stock magnate, stock trader, the Warren Buffett of this era.
Genius.
Took a trip to Taiwan that has apparently pissed off the entire world. The real reason is that China basically had said last week to Biden, please don't fucking come. and apparently it was more aggressive than that. It was a clear indication, don't come. And people are kind of comparing this to our relationship with Ukraine and, where Russia had made it clear.
Please don't help.
Yeah. And Nancy Pelosi decided to go anyways. I don't know if it's up to her, but let's say the administration.
No, so what was made clear is that the administration said Congress is independent. We can't control them. Whatever they want to do, they can do.
So then she must have gotten blessing from...
So 26 senators wrote a statement, half of which were Republican, supporting her visiting Taiwan.
Okay.
So Congress...
Bipartisan.
So yeah, bipartisan. And I'm going to zag here. I love it.
You like it?
I like that she went because no one stands up to China. You're U.S., you're the superpower, and you're going to get told that the Speaker of the House can't go to Taiwan?
What is she doing there? Checking her stocks?
It's okay.
Pumping bags.
China already had to... China already controls Hollywood. No one puts anything anti-China because they want distribution in China.
Yeah.
They can't control our government too.
Yeah. They kind of do with TikTok.
No, they control our population.
Yeah. What I'm worried about, though, is that this is like the beginning to like a very, very long and drawn out and quite painful trade war between us, because it's obvious that there's a lot it's obvious that the impetus behind this is kind of a lot around the semiconductor manufacturing capacity that's in Taiwan and how much that affects basically the U.S. ecosystem as a whole. And so I think that if it starts going tit for tat, China does control a lot of the input materials into a lot of the shit in the United States. Yep. And so while I do, I'm always for democracies standing up to autocracies. I think that there might have been a more finesse way to do this, but her tweet was crazy. So
yeah, want to read her tweet? I think that was a good one.
Yeah, I'll pull up her tweet.
I also think the thing that...
And the running joke was because she obviously made so much money trading chip stocks that she's going to Taiwan to check on the factory.
The memes are amazing. The memes are amazing.
Okay, I have the quote here. It's Nancy Pelosi, our visit reiterates that America stands with Taiwan, a robust, vibrant democracy and our important partner in the Indo-Pacific.
Which obviously is not going to play well in mainland.
It's already, if you go read the responses to that tweet there,
I would love to
bust out Google Translate too. There are some interesting ones.
Be on Weibo or whatever and see how they're portraying it.
Firing off.
Yeah, because they're saying America is
invaded China.
Yeah, being defiant. And
someone's got to stand up to China, and the U.S. is the only person. We're the only country that can.
So I agree with that. I think the only thing I don't like it for, China is kind of imploding on its own at the moment.
Oh my God.
And you kind of gave them a little bit of fuel to their population was like on the verge of like
which is insane to think about.
Yeah, the fact that it could be overrun.
That there's
by,
cracks in the system.
Yeah, the fact that even videos are leaking out of all
Yeah.
of this like weird mischief going on is like goes to show like that never happened 5 years ago.
Exactly. So that's my point is knowing that information and because it's all strategy, right? So I get you have to go. Like, could you have waited and just let them implode and then go? Because then you go during a time of weakness. Now you're giving them
Like to stand up
a
on
cover
their own. Yeah.
and saying, oh, we have to stay together right now against the big bad West.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's why I don't like it. Here's another political story. I didn't even know Al-Qaeda is still around. They're still killing people.
I love this one. This one's amazing.
So, I don't know how to... Zawahiri? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Zawahiri, yeah.
Yep.
Apparently, the current Al-Qaeda leader
Yeah, number 2 behind Osama.
was killed. And...
Hey,
so I saw
Sleepy
how
Joe.
they killed...
Sleepy Joe woke up.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this, but I'm just like shocked that Al-Qaeda is still thriving.
Yeah, it's still thriving, I think. But I think that this is an amazing, just an amazing representation of like the perseverance of America. Like they've been looking for this guy for 14 years, and they finally found him in some fucking cave somewhere. So like, I think that it goes to show that like if you fuck with America, long memory. And like,
I wonder if that's going to happen to the people that left California to go to Texas. Does California have a long memory?
100%. I think it's like
it's like you go to Florida. 17 years later, Gavin Newsom's kids are coming at you.
hits you with the tax.
Dude, the tax board is not going to forget.
I heard they have an office in Texas. California Tax Board has an office in Texas.
So dark.
I talked to someone in tech that made a lot of money and was like, there's no point after you've made the money to try to think that they're not going to come after you when you just moved to Florida.
So if you
Texas.
don't have the money, you should go now.
And they're even
Yes, if
thinking
you don't
about doing it
have
retroactively, right? Like if you did like 10 years ago, if you did this in the last 10 years or so, they'll still come fuck you.
They're
so.
coming for the money. There's a reason why California has a surplus.
Yeah. I like your point though. That perseverance that's a very much crazy American trait.
100%. Especially like from like a
different era.
Yeah, there's literally three fucking presidents ago.
21 years. It's been 21 years.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, is the rationale that like we need to, all business must be finished from this era?
No, I mean, these guys are still dangerous. Give me a break.
I mean, these guys are still doing terrible things in Afghanistan. I think that there's in Afghanistan specifically, there's been still a lot of repression from Al-Qaeda, and they've been, they've been kind of reverting back to a lot of the like more extreme thing, like girls can't go to school and that kind of stuff. So I do think that this is like symbolically very important, but I just like it because I think it's fucking awesome that what is it? A Lannister always pays his debts. Like same shit.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I mean, when it definitely like kills motivation from like a young terrorist if they see.
Oh my god,
this guy
must have thought that he was chilling. Fucking 21 years. He was like, oh, I must be good at this point. And then so I love it.
Okay. I'm going to end on my favorite topic, which is Kanye. Kanye posted a big text message thread about
that DM.
Yeezy Day. And he then posted about how, which as a consumer you can see, and my wife even pointed out, she was on the Adidas site yesterday looking for kids' shoes. And she ended up in the women's section, the men's section. And she was like, oh my God, every shoe is a copy of Yeezy. Mm-hmm. Like the entire roster. Mm-hmm. Everything from the slides to the sneakers to the boots.
Where did he post it? I can't find it.
It's like a text message.
Yeah, it just popped up.
It just popped up.
It was like somebody like reposted it. But what I thought was most interesting about that exchange was that he made the point that 68% of Adidas's online sales are Yeezys.
Yeah.
That seems like you guys should be really careful with that relationship.
I know, I mean, we all know Adidas is struggling. It's public that it's struggling. We also see in the consumer, like you can use all the numbers you want. I always like to use like the on foot test when you go somewhere. Mm-hmm. Young people have completely left Adidas.
For sure.
It's only Yeezys.
Even then, it's only like, I go out and I see the corniest people wearing Yeezys. I don't see like the cool, fashionable, like... I
still see those kids wearing it.
I see like...
It didn't infiltrate Silicon Valley. That's when he knew it was kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, thank God. But no, I like, you go into whatever, Delilah or something.
Yeah.
How many Yeezys do you see on feet? Like maybe 1, 2?
Yeah, but you still see them. It's not like... if you went to like a bunch of young kids, All I see is white Air Force Ones.
Which is gross, but yeah, I agree. Because they're not even clean. Like,
Yeah, they're
the Air
dirty.
Forces were dope when they like people were like Fat
Crispy
Joe,
white, yeah.
rocking a new pair a
Never
week.
even
Like,
lick the bottom.
oh,
Like, yeah.
amazing era. But yeah, I fucking hate the gross like
Yeah.
musty ass fucking Air Force One trend.
And
That's
so he
bad.
has a Yeezy day that's tomorrow, and it's going to be like they're releasing like 20 some odd shoes, all the best sellers.
Yep.
Clearly, they went to the well and just ramped production for these styles. The site, it's probably going to do its biggest day ever.
It'll crash, right?
What? The site, well, yeah, they have like a wait list the way if you ever wanted to buy something, but like the slides I see everyone wearing.
Oh, I know. That's something that everybody wears.
Yeah. But like you take this business like Adidas, why not just respect the relationship? And instead of copying everything, just go to him like, can we? He's all open for democratizing fashion.
Yes.
He's okay if everyone owns a pair of Yeezy.
Do you know what I think it must be?
Yeah.
There's no other makes sense. He must be so miserable to work with from a corporate level that it's just like we just can't do it anymore. Like,
Yeah, we'll just copy it.
We've all heard enough stories about how
Yeah.
Kanye is in business meetings.
for sure. They
Yeah.
probably just went to their lawyers and like, how much can we get away with
Yeah.
before we actually get sued?
Yeah.
And like we
Let's
just
push the envelope.
let's push the envelope because I can't even imagine, like, they must be able to get shit to market so much quicker without him than
Yeah,
with
yeah.
him. You know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean? So I think that it must be just he's miserable to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100% the case.
Yeah. It's
I
probably,
mean, we have people that worked for him.
yeah. We know that. I just know that it's
Jimmy
just a
shut
terrible
down the
thing.
LA office overnight and told everyone to move to Chicago and then never moved to Chicago but
Yeah.
fired everyone.
Yeah. I don't know if he did that. He didn't actually fire everyone. He just said he would move everyone there. But the point being is, it doesn't look like, think about it like this, because the shoes actually look good, the copies,
Sure.
obviously. If you're a young person, are you going to wear the copy Yeezys?
Fuck no.
Exactly.
No.
So it's actually it's not even a good strategy.
It's not a good strategy, but they have to do something, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what if you were Adidas, what are you going to fall back on? Like,
Yeah.
all you can really do is copy the best performing shit and make it slightly different and hope that it captivates people in the same way. A lot in the same way that, you know, like Nike's done that incredibly well. Think about
Yeah.
how many fucking Jordans there are, like,
Yeah.
and how many different versions of the same model of Jordans there are. Like, it's the only way to really, like,
Yeah. And even to be fair, in Travis Scott's case, the Travis Scott sneaker, the low top dunk,
Mhm.
that's not like his original silhouette,
Fuck no,
original
dunks have
everything.
been around for 20
he just,
years. Yeah.
flipped the check around
That's what I'm
and
saying.
that's it.
Yeah.
That I get. So
Yeah.
now they are milking the dunks. Everyone has them. They did the same exact colorway. I get it. In Kanye's case, it's a completely brand new shoe and a
Yeah.
silhouette, and
Yeah.
they're just blatantly copying the
Yeah.
slide. They're
Yeah.
blatantly copying the sneakers.
But like, yeah, I mean, the other side of this coin is like what Virgil did. Virgil did change a lot of this, like the silhouettes, the base of the silhouettes were the same,
Yeah.
but he did, you know, change a
Yeah.
fair amount of the silhouettes of a few of the shoes. And so I think that they're probably hoping that that's the case, that it's like, oh, like, you know, people want this derivative of whatever.
I don't know, but Kanye's were so unique looking.
For sure.
It's not like it looked like.
I think all the derivative shit looks trash.
Yeah.
Like, just to be clear,
But
like,
it's
Yeah.
same what you said. The derivative Jordans are all trash.
oh my
right?
God, bro.
Yeah.
Team Jordans are
Yeah.
fucking terrible. Yeah. So
Everyone just wants the same 3s, 4s, 1s that they
just-
wore 30 years
yeah,
ago.
1s, 3s, 4s.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Space Jam Jordans too.
Yeah, the 13, the
Yeah.
cool grade 13s or whatever. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, Adidas, I think, is going to have a really, really tough time over the next couple of years because they're not even able to like attract the talent that they once were.
No.
Like, they have Jerry Lorenzo. I don't know what he's doing.
Why don't you release his product yet?
I have no idea. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So
Best of luck
short
to you.
Adidas.
Yeah, definitely short Adidas. All right. Anything else? Any lasting words?
No, I guess, I mean, like, I know that a lot of people that talk or listen to this podcast are like in the entrepreneurial space. And I think that one thing that, one piece of advice that has been reiterated to me by some of the smartest people that I've been talking to right now is that it's actually an amazing time to build.
Yeah.
It's not a great time to do almost anything else but build if you're in the entrepreneurial space. And so, yeah, I think that my only parting words would be don't shy away from like doing hard things right now just because the macroeconomic situation isn't the best. I think that a lot of the best businesses in the world, if you look back on it, were built in 2008, 2009 era. And some of the most longstanding, you know, things that we point to as like huge Silicon Valley successes were all, you know, in a time of like you look at 2001, look at 2009, great businesses have been built in those times. And so, you know, regardless of what's happening, I think it's a great time to have ideas and execute them.
Yeah. And I think to echo that, the thing that I think, obviously being a founder right now is challenging and people are strapped financially. I read a quote years ago that businesses don't fail, the founder just gives up. And I believe that more than anything, because the stuff over the last 20 years we'd have to do to survive, we did it.
Yeah.
And we did the miracle, like begging folks for more time to pay them, begging folks for bigger lines of credit, whatever it was. There's nothing you can't negotiate your way out of.
Sure.
But you have to have that kind of
Grit,
willpower and grit to do it, and had those really ugly conversations. And I think that's what this time is. And I think the challenge is everyone still, like when I speak to young people, they're like, I'm going to go out and raise money. That's like the number one thing. I'm like, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't raise money for anything right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be completely transparent. I'm raising money right now. And it's, I'm really lucky in the sense that I have great connections and whatever. And like a lot of people are just willing to support me off the base of that.
Yeah.
But if you're a random person coming into the market right now, it's impossible. It's actually impossible.
Yeah. And I think that is like, it's easy to, like every young entrepreneur I meet, like, oh, I'm going to go raise money for this. I'm like, unless you're coming with the Rolodex already, you're not going to go get those serendipitous conversations that raises you $2 million.
Yeah, it's a friends and family environment unless you're already past the gatekeepers.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%.
So make friends right now. There's another piece of advice.
Yeah.
Make some good friends.
What about LA Tech Week? That's going to be a hot bed to make friends, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
Do you think a lot of people are going to come out for that?
I do. And I think that I don't know how many people from Los Angeles specifically will be there, but I think a lot of people will be coming to Los Angeles for that. And yeah, I think shout out to, I believe, Katya at Andreessen Horowitz, who put this all on.
Oh, wow. Andreessen is behind it.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys heard the news. Andreessen is opening a Santa Monica office. They're opening a Miami office, but they're planting their flag in all these places. And yeah, this is an Andreessen Horowitz put together event. I think that I've seen a high quality of speakers, and some of the events are a little bit like
Cheese dick.
Yeah, just kind of like very almost like too prototypically LA. Like there's one event on the LA Tech Week schedule that literally just says mansion party in the hills, and it's like. Yeah, I get it. But I think that, I think it's important because LA as a tech scene has been actually quite overlooked, even though there's a insane amount of businesses that are actually from here and built out here, especially if you consider like places like Hawthorne and like shit like
SpaceX.
that.
Oh, wow. This is a good conference. I'm looking at the lineup.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing that really bugs me. We are an LA technology company that literally has never met with any LA investors.
LA
Did
investors
not
are
know
trash.
that LA Tech Week. I mean, you guys are one of our only LA funds invested.
Yeah.
Or actually, Wonderco and you guys. But like LA Tech Week is happening. There's been absolutely no like outreach or like, hey, like we're doing this thing. Can all the local companies get involved?
For sure.
Like we're actively hiring. We're actively looking for people. Like we want to be involved in the ecosystem. And I don't know. Maybe we're just not on like the message board.
I don't even think it's that. I think that's two things. One is that the LA investing ecosystem has been very trash for a long time, and it's actually quite surprising that that's the case. And then I think the other thing is that this is really a kind of like more so than being useful to LA founders. This is kind of like just like a puff out your chest, show that you're here, active.
Got it. So it's more of an investor thing than it is a founder thing.
By a long shot. Yeah.
Beginner surfing Wednesday morning.
Let's go.
Where?
It's LA Tech Week.
Bro, there's like some, that's what I'm saying, bro. Some of the events are like,
yeah, like, what are you doing? There's going to be,
bunch of like pasty people.
Marijuana night.
Oh, just sign me up for that one. But anything else is leave me out of it. No, I think it's good and it's important. And I think that overall, like the fact that more people aren't paying attention to your company and other companies like it that are being created out here is kind of a travesty because it's a great place to build a company, in my personal opinion. And I think more people should.
The real reason why it's a travesty is that like we'll have hiring conversations and we're like asking them to move to LA and they're not interested. And they're not in a city that I would consider desirable.
Yeah.
So if you're living, I get it, New York City, it's tough. You're a young person and you got your roots there or whatever. But like some of these other cities, like how come LA is not a desired place to work in technology?
I think it's because it's like LA has a very clear positioning in most people, like the public's consciousness, as a place that's pretty shallow. I would say, it's mostly entertainment.
I love that part about it.
I don't mind it either.
Yeah.
But I think that for like, people who are like work in sort of like knowledge professions or like very sort of high aptitude professions, the things that tend to move, like want to move them, are very different. You know
There's
what I mean?
still a stigma. I mean, you could talk to people because San Francisco.
But it's true. It's actually true. If you look at the funds that are out here and what they have actually accomplished, it's nothing. It's actually nothing.
Yeah.
They've thrown a couple cool conferences.
Yeah.
Cool, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they've done nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, the stigma is 100% valid because
Yeah.
nobody does anything.
From an
out here.
investor standpoint, from
Yeah.
a business standpoint, there's insane businesses
Oh, it's
in
incredible.
LA.
And you know what's amazing about them? All of the lead investors in all those businesses
Yeah.
are not in fucking LA, which is
Right.
the whole point.
My 3 lead investors from New York.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not one LA investor in SpaceX,
Yeah.
not one LA investor in Service Titan, or maybe
Yeah.
now there is because they couldn't avoid
Yeah.
it. Fucking Upfront almost missed Bird, and the Bird literally put birds in front of their office to get their check for
Yeah.
like months.
Yeah.
Like none of it makes sense,
Yeah.
and I don't get
Who backs Snapchat?
who backs Snapchat.
Lightspeed,
Correct.
Exactly.
and they're not San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I think that that's also part of it, is because like the ecosystem is so fragmented out here that it's like, why would I even come out here if there's like, very little opportunity outside
Yeah.
of the one direct thing that I'm trying to do?
Yeah, I just saw Whatnot raise like hundreds of millions of dollars in multi-billion-dollar valuation.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's not an LA fund leading that.
Fuck no. It's honestly incredible. It's honestly incredible. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
But here we are.
That's funny.
Like even Revolve, did they have LA investors?
No, San Francisco.
There you go.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you actually stop and think about it and you were to go through a list,
And these are like fantastic companies, by the way.
Multi-billion.
and also like really charismatic, nice found, like not hard people to talk to necessarily.
Yeah,
either.
yeah, yeah.
It's not like it's like, oh, we can't talk to this guy. It's like
Yeah.
all of these people are great.
Yeah.
Fucking Michael throws the best parties in the city, and somehow you couldn't figure out how to put a check in there. It's like,
It's wild. It's wild.
it actually doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like the people in LA would much rather invest in some bullshit restaurant on like Melrose than like, guaranteed close in 8 months than actually anything of substance. So
Oh my God. So you go check out LA Tech Week.
yeah.
No,
That could be the ad for LA Tech Week.
Yeah, the conference obviously looks great, and the reason why it's going to be popping is because Andreessen Horowitz is hosting it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And because they have no competition. There's like
Yeah.
actually no competition. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. And again, this is not my like me lambasting fucking LA Tech Week at all. I think it's actually very positive, and I think it's an important thing that we need to have in our ecosystem.
I agree.
I just think that, LA as a whole is such a fragmented and fucked up place when considering investing in technology that, I really hope things like this move it into a more positive direction. That's the long way of saying that.
Yeah, there's no shortage of talented founders in LA.
No,
There's a
and
shortage
more-
of talented investors.
And like over the last 12 months, like so many founders with legitimate huge exits have come down to Los Angeles and are literally just sitting here in our backyard thinking about the next shit to do. Like
Right.
there are so
Give them money.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, when
could
I
go
go to
on forever.
Malibu, I see a lot of them
They're-
just like
they're all
walking around the
there.
country mart.
they're just chilling. They
Yeah.
are just chilling. And
And
nobody's
these are
talking
like the best minds of our time.
for sure. And a lot of them are thinking about their next thing.
They're
Yeah.
all work. I mean,
They're either incubating through some random company they have or whatever. Like they're all doing interesting shit
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean,
You can just go to the nice guy and you'll run into them.
go to the nice guy, go to Soho, Malibu, go to any of these places. You're chilling with them. And
Yeah.
like, there's not a single investor around them at all. It's
yeah,
crazy.
no, it's insane because actually, I'm not going to say the name. I'll keep it anonymous. There's a person in Malibu that has a multi-billion-dollar exit, building his company out of. I mean, it's probably going to have an LA office, and Andreessen Horowitz gave him $20 million.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not any LA investor.
Where's Upfront?
Doesn't sound like you guys have a good relationship.
I actually have no relationship with them at all. But
Which
like-
is also crazy.
which is also crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been an active investor for over 12 years,
Yeah.
and I don't know one LA fund I don't talk to.
Dude, I've been investing.
Other than obviously you and WonderCo, but like,
I've been investing out of LA specifically, like sitting in LA, taking meetings, doing meetings, and I still don't get invited to Upfront. It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So, it's all one
yeah,
big.
the only way I got invited to Upfront is I was part of Naz's entourage.
That's what I'm saying. You have to like, even if you're an LA fund, you somehow have to fucking finesse your way in. It's insane. Like it's crazy. So, yeah, I just think that there's a wide open space. No hate to Upfront. I
and
think
like,
it's
I
funny.
mean, my track record's public.
Sure.
You can go on my angel list. I have
Yeah,
some hot
but-
exits.
But the conference circuit is very different. It's a game you got to play.
hate
You got to
it.
play the game.
I hate it. It's
Yeah.
so easily disruptible. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's not hard, but you have to be willing to play it.
Yep.
All right. On that note, thank you, Zach.
Thank you guys. Always
for
a pleasure.
joining us. If you want to write Zach a check, hit him up.
Sure. I won't even tell you what I'm doing, but if you want to write me one.
All right. We will see you back here on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Peace.